evening, everybody. Welcome to the Starting 11 show. We are in October now, and Haaland's already scored 40 goals. It's just me and Bill tonight. We'll be covering some of the big games from the weekend. So a couple of big derbies that went on, loads of talking points in them particular games. How was the weekend of football for you, Bill?
Good. I'm all right with Chelsea. Was a bit worried, but we'll get onto that in the live as well.
So that's it's not the first game we'll cover. The first game we'll cover has to be a few goals there. If you got them on your goals galore bet, you're safe. So Manchester City 6, United 3. Thoughts, Bill?
I called a 4-4 draw. I think I think it was going to be a high scoring game. I do think that it was definitely a game that was going to be packed full of goals, but I thought that United's counter-attack system that they've got at the minute would have caught City a lot more than we actually did.
It might have done it. It might have done if they had a midfield. There was no midfield. United had a back four and a couple of people playing up top.
Yeah.
I watched the whole game. I've never seen a midfield so scarce. I think Man United's back four is getting ridiculed and has done for some time. I actually think Martinez is really decent, but there was no protection. I mean, it's like you can just attack the back four. I watched the whole game, and the gap between the attacking players and United's back four, I'm sorry, but Scott McTominay, is he not the luckiest man in the world to play in a United team?
He shouldn't be a professional footballer, the way I see it.
I mean, do you know what? I'll give him his due. He's quite a tough nut. You know, he gets stuck into challenges. He can play the sort of little give and goes, but he's not got much quality. And when he comes up against, well, I say the better players, any players that turn up on their day, he's left short. I thought he was absolutely awful. Along with Eriksen, it's the worst I've seen him in the Man United shirt. They tried to play him in a pivot. It didn't work. I think 6-3 absolutely flatters Man United.
I think one thing, though, with City that we've seen quite a lot of this season is I don't think their defence is switched on for full 90. Their focus in the last 10 minutes, it seems like they just switch off.
Yeah, but they made 5 subs, Bill. They were just playing around. At 6-1, they could have gone 7, 8, 9, 10 ones. That is the gap.
For me personally, the biggest thing in a derby is if you're City and you go into that changing room at halftime 4-0 up, I would say as Pep, I'd say we're keeping our clean sheet. We are not conceding a goal. We want to make a point that we're not going to concede a goal. And although winning 6-3, they've done a great job. They've done absolutely bits, but I just think that they could have defended and not given away 3 goals.
Yeah, but like I say, they brought a lot of subs on. They literally just didn't care. They were just, it was embarrassing for United. Absolutely embarrassing. I think the back, do you know what's actually quite funny? It sounds like a ridiculous statement to make. I thought United's back four played okay. And even my dog thinks that they did.
Like the thing is, I can't even begin to think with Man City shouldn't be conceding to as poor of a side as Man United. They've come into form and they've been doing well. United have.
They put on nippers and they literally. Bill, the scorelines don't always reflect the scenario. City could have just carried on. They were just playing for fun. They let in a couple of goals. It's not like I say, 6-3 flatters United.
But wouldn't you want a clean sheet?
If I was City playing the way that they do, not in this particular game, no.
Because for
Playing
me
United is
personally,
so easy. It's so easy for them.
yeah,
I think 6-3 is better than a 3-0 in this instance. In normal games, yes, I'd want to keep a clean sheet. But United, put a 6 past them, batter them, and it's 6-3. It's flattering. It's absolutely flattering. But the biggest talking point that I've got for this game, other than Haaland being on track for 71 goals for his minute ratio, is my support for Gareth Southgate is dwindling.
and why's that?
Because you got Phil Foden. I'm not biased, but I honestly think in terms of footballing ability, I think he's a potential future Ballon d'Or winner. I really do. I'm going to make that statement. But anyway, he's good. Anyone who looks at him, right, they tell you he's a very, very good player.
Technically, he's one of the gifted we've had.
But Gareth doesn't get anything out of him. He plays him out of position, doesn't give him the free roll. And actually, when I look at him play, okay, he's in a better City team than what England have got.
Yeah.
But we've still got quite a good setup. And I think for him to make Foden look as average as he looks in an England shirt, you have to start looking at Gareth Southgate. You can't have Foden performing like this week in, week out. And he turns up for England and he looks dire.
I think, but this is what I said as well. And we agreed on the last show about the system that Foden is in with Southgate. The thing is, he's such a good nippy. He's not a winger, in my opinion. Pep's played him on the wing, but
no, he's a free roll.
He's
a free roll.
Yeah, and yeah, I think. But someone I want to highlight is Martial.
Yeah, he got a couple of goals and took them well.
He had so much hate, from what I can remember. Before he went to Sevilla last season, I believe, he got so much hate. And a lot of players, I remember when he first came in at United, and on his debut, he did that little dribble, didn't he? And he was dribbling around some players, and he looked like
but he didn't consistent. He's never consistent.
He wasn't consistent,
United.
But I think
players just want a bit more out of Martial. But actually, I think he's best when he plays in spurts. You know, the odd run and stuff. That's sort of the type of player he is. I think, to be honest, you're looking at how poor United. I don't mean any disrespect to Martial, but if United had a half-decent front line, he wouldn't be playing.
In what sense? Like
you've got Rashford, who's really been off it for a while. Yes, the last few weeks he played pretty well. You've got Ronaldo, who I don't think has enough running in his legs. He's still got the quality, don't get me wrong, but in a United team that already suffer, as I've said a lot of times, they suffer with legs. They've not got a lot of really fit people, which can be a problem when you're, trying to win stuff. They're not strong up top. I can't remember a United side where they haven't got at least one recognised top striker. I mean, name me a time. Other than recent years. They've always had a main striker.
I mean, you could be, if you say, recent times they've struggled, because obviously they had Lukaku come in. He wasn't exactly made out of gold.
But I still think Lukaku would be the main striker. I still think he's better than every person they've got at the moment.
No, I would pick Rashford over Lukaku.
Would you?
As a Chelsea fan,
as a number 9.
Yeah, the thing is with Lukaku is, yes, he can prove it in Italy. Well done, but he did absolutely bits, and I loved Lukaku when he was at Everton. Don't get me wrong, he was a scary guy at Everton. I absolutely thought he was incredible. Went to United, flopped. Then from there, where did he go? Did he go Chelsea, then Inter, or was it Inter then Chelsea?
Inter then Chelsea.
Like, he went and turned up
and
in
then
the Serie
back to Inter, and he's had nothing but injuries. Actually, he's having a bit of a torrid time back out there at the moment.
And what did he? He hasn't done enough in the Prem, in my opinion,
since his Everton days.
Yeah, I don't think he's been good enough since Everton. Whereas Rashford, yes, he's been out of form, but I think you have to look at everyone at United in that scenario. You can't
I just think of Paul Lukaku gets you 15 goals a season, and I don't think Rashford ever does.
I think Rashford would share it between the front line, though. Like, I think Anthony would step in for some goals. Rashford, and I think
to
they
be
would.
fair, I thought he was United's best player, Anthony, not just because of the goal, because the goal was stunning.
It
I
was a
thought
nice
he
goal.
was
It was a
pretty
tight.
decent. He showed elements of quality.
Yeah.
So, yeah, your thoughts on City? Do you think they'll win the league?
Mate, it's a no-brainer. I think City winning the league is a no-brainer. We're going to get into another one with Liverpool. They're a whole different kettle of fish. But, yeah, City, for me, they're clear winners. Clear winners.
And United, will they get top 4?
The thing is, I believe they could. But the problem is, you've got Chelsea with Potter coming in. A lot of people are writing Chelsea off now. But with Potter coming in, luckily, well, I say lucky, we did get a bit lucky to get our result against Palace, but we're looking like we're going to get into some form now. You've got Arsenal, who obviously still doing bits, and you've got Tottenham, who have just come off the back of a North London loss. So I feel like second, third, and fourth is up for grabs for everyone. But for Man City,
could really be up for grabs. It'd be interesting when we get around the 18-20 game mark, whether Arsenal can still stay up there, because that would be really interesting. I'd like to see that.
I'm interested to see how they go, because we'll get into... Well, there we go then.
And that brings us on to it. The North London derby.
I watched this game and I genuinely got bored. Arsenal were exciting, but from what I saw from Tottenham-wise, if I was a Tottenham fan,
it's depressing. Conte football can be depressing. But you know what I just want to say? Saliba. He was different class. No. Absolutely different class. Did you see some of the balls he cut out and just sort of strolled out the back, taking a cut? Mate, do you know what? Everyone's been hyping him, and I've sort of been a bit quiet. I mean, I love the song, as you can see, but I sort of didn't want to overhype him. But, mate, what a game he had.
He made defending look easy.
So easy. So easy. And what I'm really pleased about, because I'm a fan of football. That's probably why I don't mind Arsenal. Over the years, I've loved the football that they play. But I'm glad Arsenal won that, because sometimes Conte teams can sort of counter-attack, come away with a result, and you think, wow, like they did against Chelsea, and you sort of think, oh, what's happened here? Yeah. But actually, Arsenal stuck to their guns, excuse the pun, and they outplayed them for a majority of the 90 minutes, probably about 85 minutes of it. And I thought Arsenal were outstanding. I thought Saka was brilliant. Xhaka, I mean, who is Xhaka? Where did he come from?
I want to speak about Xhaka separately.
Yeah, it's like a box-to-box midfielder. Outstanding. And they controlled the game. And I really... Arteta's philosophy, I've got to give him a lot of credit, because I think that's shining through the team. And the stadium is breathing.
I think, yeah. I mean, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Arsenal looked unbelievable. As a team, as young as they are, to have the discipline and the control of the game they have.
Yes, control.
Their average age is 20, 21, 22 maybe?
It's something stupid, yeah.
Like Saliba, early 20s, Gabriel, early 20s, I want to say, or mid-20s. Yeah. The only sort of oldish players they've got is Partey, who's not that old, and you've got Granit Xhaka. Jesus, actually, isn't he?
I think he's only 25.
So he's mid. Yeah, okay, fair enough. The team they have, Arteta has come in with a plan, and although me included has wanted him out, he's come to prove now to silence everyone who said out. Yeah. He has proven a point, and I think this is huge. The only thing I do say is, can they do it at White Hart Lane? Well, not White Hart Lane anymore. London Stadium or whatever they changed it to.
Yes, they can. The control they had, and I agree with you. If I was a Tottenham fan, do you want to be seeing that counter-attacking football every week where you sit in your own half? And I don't personally.
Yeah,
I'd like to see some control. Or it's a derby. It goes out the window. Have some challenges, make it a bit of a feisty affair. Try and upset Arsenal's rhythm. There was none of that. There was, right, this is our plan. And I love Conte. I think he's one of the best managers ever to get results. But I'm just so glad they got beat because I don't think they offered enough. And I think they turned up with a game plan that was very negative.
Yeah. One thing I do want to highlight is Emerson's red card. For me personally, I don't think it was a red. I think it was a harsh red.
Yeah, I would have given a yellow.
And I think that's one thing that I've seen that's actually that's highlighted with VAR is because it's slowed down, it looks so much worse.
And I think what referees are saying is if the studs are up, which they were, they're almost saying if it's the ankle or above, it's a red. Whereas I think you have to look at the context of the challenge, the angle they're coming from. Is there any malice in it? It was a yellow for me. I wouldn't have sent him off.
It was a deliberate trip, but it did not look like he was going in to break someone's ankle. He literally just stuck his foot out.
But that in slow motion looks horrific.
In slow motion, it looks like he went to go and break his ankle. But when you actually watch the game and you watch that tackle, it just looks like he just stuck his foot out and tried tripping him up and accidentally caught him with his studs.
Yeah.
I don't think there was nothing malice about it, and I don't think they should have ever been put as a red. But that's the problem with VAR as well. Because they slow it down pixel by pixel, it looks so much worse.
And do you think referees are told to take that into account? Or do they just take it out of slow-mo? Do you know what I mean? Because common sense tells me, right, how did you see that? And they always play a slow. I never see them. I know this sounds daft, but they're always looking at slow-mos to try and get the right decision. Sometimes to get the right decision, you need it at normal pace.
Yeah.
You'd see it as it was live. Do you sort of get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you mean. I don't think the refs take into account speed at all.
No.
Tabrice has come in, said straight red for me, and has also said there was no attempt to get the ball.
Well, there might not have been an attempt to get the ball. I'd probably agree with that as well, but I don't think it was malice, and I think it looked a lot worse than it was.
Yeah, I don't think there was any sort of hate in that tackle whatsoever.
It wasn't ridiculously high. It was the ankle, essentially, wasn't it?
Well, I would understand if it was knee high. If it was anywhere near the knee area or above, straight red for me. But the fact it looked like he just tried tripping him up. I think it was sloppy.
And this does make a difference. It weren't like a slide. It was like running upright. There was no force in the.
He didn't lunge into it.
No, in the slow mo, it looks bad because you're seeing, like this against the ankle, but there was no lunge, there was no slide. So, yellow card for me. Although I can see it was a red, but I disagree with the decision. So, Tottenham's top 4 hopes still there.
I want to see how Conte bounces back from this result in a North London derby to come away with a 3-1 loss. It's all give and take after that. If
you reckon it might sort of drop their heads a little bit, and
it could it could go one or two ways. It could make Conte and the rest of the team drop their heads and look like they don't want to play football
because they were without Kulievski, weren't they? So did that also harm him a little bit? Because he's been quite a good player, isn't he, for Tottenham since he joined?
Yeah, I think he's been an exciting player. And listen, I love Kulievski. I think that I actually really rate him, especially when he was in the Serie A coming over from, was it Juve he was at?
Yes, it was, yeah.
And he's a young, exciting player that I've actually enjoyed watching. But him not playing as well, I think could definitely affect how they play. But
they've been counter-attacking well with them 3. So the fact that they've lost him probably changes the way that they counter-attack slightly. And I still think they'll be up there for top 4. But Arsenal, I just hope they keep. I want them to pile the pressure on Man City. Who wants a Premier League where someone just runs away with it? No one, surely.
Me, if it means that Arsenal.
You as a Chelsea fan, yeah.
I listen. I've been very happy with how awful Arsenal were. Right, I've enjoyed Mohamed El Neni in the midfield. Do you know what I mean? I've absolutely enjoyed it. Them coming into form, I get it. And I've actually enjoyed Arteta's football, the style of play, the young players he's bringing in. I rate it. I'm not going to be that biased. But do I want them finishing above me? Absolutely not. No chance.
Especially not winning the league.
No, I'd rather have, what is it? I would genuinely rather have City just have a clean sweep and no one chase them than Arsenal.
Oh, no. Yeah, but you can understand from a neutral perspective, no one wants to see that from a neutral perspective.
But I also want to highlight quickly, Arsenal, against the big teams so far, who have they faced big? They faced United and Tottenham.
Well, I'd say they'd face Tottenham.
Well, like the big games that they've had.
Yeah. United and Tottenham.
United, although they play good, they just didn't click with United. Like they just didn't. They weren't on the same wavelength with United. United just seemed to be catching them on the break every time. Whereas with this Tottenham game, you have to factor in they were at home with their home crowd in a North London derby. I can't see enough to give them full credit yet. Yes, they've beaten Tottenham.
You possibly think then Arsenal might become a little bit vulnerable, away to Chelsea, away to Spurs, away to City. They might not pick up enough points in the really difficult games to challenge them.
I
can understand why you'd think
they haven't had a real challenge yet, in my opinion. I want to see when they come up against City and Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because that's if I see Liverpool, they're drawing 3-3 to Brighton, so you can't really judge them at the minute. But City, for instance, I want to see Arsenal beat City, and if Arsenal come away with a draw at least, then I'll put respect and say actually they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
But when they're beating Bournemouth and Southampton and all these little teams, and then they go up to United and crumble, and then they get a home game in the North London derby where all your
I wouldn't say they crumbled against United. I watched the game. They were the best side for.
I watched their game. I watched the game.
But I just thought they were a bit lax in their concentration on holding their line and playing the offside, really, which caught them out a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, I'm very quick to judge Arsenal anyway.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to the Liverpool game. Honest, how many weeks are Liverpool going to continue let's be honest, we're all thinking, right, they're going to hit a stride in a minute. They're going to do this, they're going to do that. They're going backwards, Bill.
You raised the point with me when, I think it was the first episode of this show, when you were saying about the Liverpool game, and you said that Klopp's trying to play a system with the players that he doesn't have currently. So like the Mane,
I'll stick with that.
And after listening to that point, I went and looked, and I watched the full 90-minute game of Liverpool last season with Mane and the team they had, and I'm looking at them this season, and they look like they're trying to play the same, but they cannot just get that click. And after,
I don't even think it's the click. It's Mane's a very unique player who runs in behind. None of their front three does. So the whole system is completely void.
Yeah.
I would like to see Klopp go for a slightly different formation, personally.
It'll be interesting to see if he can actually change it.
He's only ever played a 4-3-3, isn't he?
And I think one thing that I want to highlight, and I've absolutely said this, and I've said this for so long, and I've had stick from so many people, Trent is no good. I've always said, even as a Chelsea fan, this isn't biased, James is so much better than Trent. I can't
stick up for Trent this week. Absolutely dreadful defender. I just can't. There's not one. I love Trent. I'd have him in the England team.
I hate him.
But as you know, I'd have him as a creative central midfielder. But at the end of the day, he's a defender, and your first job should be to defend. And he was dreadful. And I think he runs the risk of not just falling out the England side, which he clearly has, due to his poor form for probably 10, 11, 12 months now,
Yeah.
I think he runs the risk of potentially being dropped from the Liverpool side. I know Klopp's come out and stuck up for him, but if he keeps playing like that, Bill,
He
no manager in the
can't have a
world is going
start.
to have you starting. No manager in the world. Don't matter how good or creative you are.
I can't. Obviously, as a Chelsea fan, I'm going to have that slight bias towards James anyway, Reece James. But I think genuinely, James offers something defensively. And yes, Trent going forward is one of, if not the best fullback for going
Yeah, but
forward.
I wouldn't say going forward, because I actually think James. This is going to sound a bit stupid, but I think James is as good as Trent as going forward. Trent's just got a wand of a right foot. I think Trent's delivery, dead balls and stuff like that is
Yeah.
fantastic. That's where he excels. But I wouldn't say he's better than James going forward, if that makes any sense. Like just going forward, it's just his actual wand of a boot. I think James is excellent going
Okay,
forward.
so I'll reword it.
Do you
Free
get what I'm
kicks.
saying?
Yeah. Free kicks and the vision, in my opinion,
Yeah.
Trent
The
takes.
creative side
Yeah.
and the
But actually, especially watching the Palace Chelsea game, we'll get onto. James was constantly delivering the balls into the box, in and out,
I
and
think he's great.
positionally, he was still back as well.
Yeah, positionally, which is as a right back, left back, being positionally aware is probably your best skill, because you need to know when to go forward, when to bomb on, when people are behind you, when there's deep crosses in the box. I think James is stronger, positionally more aware. And I think he's a very attacking right back. You see the amount of times he overlaps and gets the ball
But
in.
we do tend with Tuchel, we were playing wing backs.
Yeah.
So
with 3 and 5, yeah. But
yeah,
and I think you're still playing that. But even as a solid 4, I would rather have James. But do you know what? I know we're talking about James at the moment, but for the Liverpool, why don't Liverpool play a solid 3 Bill and push Trent in the wing back position to take a little bit of defensive responsibility off him? And at the same time, it would change up the formation that Klopp currently plays just to see if they can try something different. Why not?
So what would you take? Alisson in goal. Who would be your 3? Van Dijk, Konate. I don't know the injuries at the minute at Liverpool though.
I would go Van Dijk, Matip, and Robertson.
And Konate.
No,
You wouldn't
Robertson. Or you could do Konate, but I would actually stick Robertson because I think defensively he's quite good. I think that's where him and Trent differ, personally. I think Robertson's miles better defensively. And then you could have
Trent on the right.
That Timiakis or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. Timikas, that's it. You could have him on the wide left. Yeah. Then you can have Thiago and Carvalho in the middle. Then you could play Nunez down the middle with Salah and Diaz off him. Mate, that's my team.
Yeah. It's not a bad team. Jackie's put a comment actually that I want to get onto. What do you think is causing this blip with Liverpool? Is it Mane leaving and no one as a replacement?
Well, I've covered this, Jackie, and I really appreciate Bill trying to watch some old games. But I think the biggest issue, obviously, it's a massive blow with Mane leaving. But I actually think the biggest issue is what Mane used to offer. So out of the front 3, you see Salah hug the line. He likes to come in off the line. He rarely breaks that sort of. He doesn't run the line, so he doesn't break that back 4. Salah's more of a possession player cutting in. Mane used to have the 3. I say Firmino, Mane, Salah. Salah was your person who cut in with possession. Firmino dropped back and linked up play. And Mane was the person that stretched the back 4. So if Van Dijk played a long ball out, or if they wanted a bit of a longer pass to get that possession and attack to happen quickly, it would be played to Mane, and you'd see him break the channels, roll off the last defender, and win the ball. That's what Mane's known for, right? Getting up and about the defender, winning that ball, stretching the lines. They've got an issue now where they've got Luis Diaz, which I really rate. He's an excellent footballer, but he's very similar to Salah in the sense that he prefers to hug the touchline. Yes, he'll take the ball out wide, but he doesn't run without the ball out wide. He plays in possession and attacks the space. Mane would play out of possession and stretch the back four. So I think Liverpool now have a problem where they're almost too rigid with Diaz and Salah. And you've seen Salah slow down a little bit as well. I don't think he's necessarily in great form. But personally, I think Liverpool need a formation change. I'd even go as far to saying that people have mugged off Núñez. He's only played a couple of games. I would start Núñez and I would play a different formation. I think since Mane's left, I think Klopp's missing a trick because he's so used to and he's won so much with his formation of 4-3-3. The success was the players that were able to play it. Yeah, and I don't think Diaz offers the same thing. So the whole attacking structure is not the same. That's quite a detailed answer, but that's what I think.
Well, luckily, she said thank you for the answer. Believe in Mane have more than team impact than thought by many. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
he's a great
everything
player.
You said, I agree with as well, by the way. Everything you said.
Yeah. Mane is a great player. And look, I think Liverpool, they looked at the finances. They've said, look, Mane, same as Salah, they're coming to sort of the best, the tail end of their prime time. We can get 30-odd million for him. We're going to bang that on wages to keep Salah. I can see why Liverpool have done what they've done. But for me, this is why I think Pep is a better coach than Klopp. I think Klopp is a better manager with people, but Pep is a better coach. Because there is no way in a million years Pep would be making that decision, but not thinking about the formation and how it's going to work.
But also, what you have to compare is the financial backing Pep has compared to Klopp.
Oh yeah. Limited, 100%. But then Klopp hasn't done anything for me. You see, with Pep, you don't know who's going to start week in, week out. You don't know exactly the formation they're going to play. With Liverpool, you can pretty much tell everyone what formation they're going to start every week, every single week. Yeah. Is it going to be Diaz on the left or is it going to be Jota? Núñez is injured, so we'll play Firmino. There is no change in the system, and I think Klopp will eventually realise it, and I'll be very, very surprised if there's no formation change in the next couple of weeks if they continue to drop a lot of points.
Yeah, there was a quick comment as well, going back to our Reece James point. Jackie did come in with another comment saying that Reece James has more angles to his game than Trent, which I think we've established as well.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jackie.
Overall stats and overall, if you're picking attribute by attribute, James, I think, is overall better than Trent. But if you're looking at individual points, dead ball, if you want to call it that, like corners, free kicks, penalties. Well, I say penalties.
Jackie knows her ball, doesn't she? Jackie,
she's on it.
Jackie knows her football.
She is commenting.
Welcome to the chat, Jackie.
But apart from that, James, I think Trent. And I think the problem is, because I'm a Chelsea fan, because I do say James a lot over Trent, a lot of people go, oh, well, you're a Chelsea fan. So it's very hard for me to argue a Chelsea player's case without sounding like...
Yeah, you're always going to be accused of bias. But I think most people prefer James even before this really, really bad spell.
I did.
I personally would just like to see Trent in either a back five as a wing back or in the middle.
Jackie says thank you.
No worries. It's nice to have someone on there that knows their stuff. Not me and Bill.
No, we're clueless.
we're just football fans. We just love football, Jackie.
That's exactly it.
So we'll move on to Billy's little favourite. Oh, Bill, you left it late, mate. Left it late, and it's written in the stars, wasn't it? That Gallagher would get
100%. It was all part of Potter's plan. That's all I'm going to say. Potter wanted it to be a late winner.
I watched the game, Extended highlights, actually. I didn't watch the whole game, but so that's a bit of a lie. Palace had a lot of chances, Bill. Quite a few chances. On the balance of the highlights, you absolutely got away with it. But, I mean, absolute class finish from Aubameyang. That was not an easy chance whatsoever. And then you've had a wonder goal. But
yeah, I think one thing that
Chelsea really, really struggling, aren't they, Bill? Really, to really sort of stamp their authority on games and really beat someone, if you know what I mean.
I think the problem we have is a lot of people are very quick to judge Potter already. That was, if I believe, his first game in charge with Chelsea in the Premier League.
Oh yeah, I'm not judging him. I think he deserves a good couple of months before you even start looking, really.
And although we did leave it late, and although Chelsea were conceding a lot of chances, I think that Potter, being his first game, getting a win, I think that it's a good start, and I'm hoping that with time comes, because Potter's definitely got a different plan to Tuchel. And one thing I like about Potter
he will have a style that he will want to get out of that team.
Yeah, and I think we just need to give it time to see how the style progresses.
And it'll be interesting because, let's face it, he's got a lot more to work with at a club like Chelsea than he did at Brighton. So it'll be really interesting to see what style he imposes on them, because it's not going to be, it's not going to be exactly the same as Brighton. He's got a bit more to offer.
I think as well, I was quite worried with Aubameyang coming in, with the history with Tuchel he had. I was confident. But seeming that we ditched Tuchel and we kept Aubameyang, I was really worried at how Potter would deal with a character like Aubameyang.
But so give him a start and he got a goal.
Yeah, exactly. So far, so good. And it was, like you said, it was a great finish. He didn't even look at the goal. He knew where the goal was. He almost turned his body, let the ball bounce over him, and just a nice volley into the bottom corner.
I mean, I don't think he'll be a success, Bill, if I'm honest.
Aubameyang. We'll get onto that in a sec. Jackie's saying that I was at the Palace-Chelsea game, having mixed the feelings about ref decision-making, Connor scoring, and Palace not taking his chances. Jackie, I presume you're a Palace fan. Put that in the comments if you're a Palace fan. But, yeah, I think back to the Aubameyang point just quickly. I don't think he's going to be anything special, but I think that we need a guaranteed goal scorer. And I think that I believe he'll get 10, 15 goals a season. He's that sort of player. And
is that enough to lift Chelsea to where they want to go, though?
Because our top goal scorer last season, I believe, was Mason Mount on like 8, I think it was, or 11.
Yeah, they're really struggling to have that sort of 20-goal striker, really, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. So that's all I can say. I'm looking forward to how Potter's going to play.
It was good to see Pulisic get some minutes, because I actually think Pulisic is the type of player that suits Potter. I don't know why, but I just think Potter may like him,
Palace season ticket holder, Jackie is. Right.
Oh, Palace fan, happy days. I thought, do you know what? We haven't spoken much about Palace, and I don't know if Jackie's still on, but I really enjoy what Palace are doing with Eze and a couple of youth. And do you know what? Respect. I think Vieira's done a fantastic job with Palace, and I think they're a really solid team. I've got some fun memories in the Premier League because I'm a Pompey fan, Jackie. So you remember the pop-off own goal? Can you remember that, Bill? We had some good results against Palace, but I think Palace are doing really well, and I think Vieira is doing a fantastic job. They're definitely more of a footballing side. For a couple of years, they just used to grind out every game and sort of get enough wins, but they seem to be playing ball. And respect to Palace, good club.
Oh, yeah, I would have to agree. The only thing is, though, a Palace fan should not be happy at the minute, because not only they lost their game, but Brighton had an unbelievable performance against Liverpool as well. So as a Palace fan, I would be upset about this game week, I must admit.
Why?
Palace and Brighton are rivals.
Why are they rivals?
I think. Well, I'm not sure actually, but I've got a mate who's a Palace fan, and he hates Brighton with a passion. And I'm pretty
Oh,
sure he said that they've got a rivalry when they go to.
I didn't think anyone hated Brighton. They're like the nice side of the world.
I think it's a bird thing. Believe me or not, Jackie, you're a Palace fan, so you can let me know in the comments. But I believe it's a
Oh yeah,
bird thing.
Eagles. Yeah, okay.
But I'm pretty sure, yeah, because I live near Brighton, so and one thing is, one of my mates went to the game. One of my mates went to the Brighton Palace game, and Palace were away to Brighton at the Amex, and there was this kid there that actually he got his head caved in almost.
Ouch.
So they've got a pretty pretty harsh clash when they come together. Jackie quickly saying, agreed, PV has made some good team changes. Some of his subs can be frustrating.
Yeah, I think he's needs a little bit more investment though. To be honest, I think with what he's got and what he's brought through, I think he's done really well. I think they could probably. I like Mitchell as well. I think he's a good player. I think they just need maybe a few quid in the January transfer window. But
Yeah,
bringing this game up, well, I was going to say a surprising result, but are Newcastle getting into a good habit, Bill, of sort of regularly winning and picking up points?
I mean, well, they got big point. Well, they got a big point against City. Well, I will admit that when they drew, what was it? They drew against City, didn't they? I believe Newcastle
3-3. Yeah, they were winning as well.
and they were in control that game.
Yeah.
From what I've heard and from what I've seen, Newcastle were the better side that game, and yeah, I think Newcastle genuinely. It might sound crazy, but they could push for a top 4 place. I know.
I think if they're there or thereabouts, the owners are willing to splash the money in January.
Yeah.
You could be seeing probably a surprise of the season because they haven't made massive signings. They've made Botman, who's really good. They've got Gumieres. What's his name? How do you pronounce it?
Bruno Guimaraes, wasn't it?
Gumieres, that's the
Brazilian DM.
Great player, so comfortable on the ball. And then they've sort of got these pocket of average, okay players that are sort of working. So, you know, Dan Burn and Almiron and Willock and
Callum Wilson. He's
long
like,
stuff. Do you know what? Callum Wilson, if he didn't have a body made out of glass, he would play for someone in the top 4 or 6. Injuries is the only thing that has prevented him from moving on. He is a goal scorer, Bill.
He's early 30s, isn't he?
I think he's about 30. Yeah, he's just suffered so much of injuries.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he's still playing, to be honest.
Callum Wilson's impressed me, I must admit, because I thought you've had the likes of I'm just thinking like Danny Ings for a season or two. You thought he could actually push for like the bench for England,
and he's dropped off, isn't he?
Yeah, and Callum Wilson, every time he's had an all right season, you turn around and you're like, oh, actually, a minute, Callum Wilson's had another great season or another good season for Newcastle. And I think that's down to how they're playing. And I also think that Willock and Almiron are quite creative. I think
very creative.
Willock is quite a direct player. He picks up the ball deep and he just charges at defenses. And
I mean, don't get me wrong, I think one of them would be replaced in January if they wanted to push on, as bad as that sounds.
Call me crazy. Believe me, if Newcastle finish in the top 6, they will be signing James Maddison. Believe it.
Madison, they can make some big signings.
But I agree. If they can get any type of European football, they are going to be, especially with the Saudis at the helm as well, there is no reason why other players from other leagues and that can look at Newcastle and go,
it's a massive football club, isn't it? It's a massive football club.
Yeah.
And they really could challenge. You know, they got better, I think, in my opinion, they got better fans than City. Miles better fans than City.
I think you have to say
City are half empty. Like, I know it's a joke and people call it empty head, But Pompey fans went up there, and we went to that game when our game got called off the other year, just because there was loads of seats that you could buy on the day. Mate, they've been winning leagues for the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. What other team do you know? Do you think you get a ticket at the Emirates if they've been winning leagues every year? No. Do you think you get a ticket at Anfield? No. I just think Newcastle are such a passionate city with proper, hearty people. You know, the type of people that are just warm. And I think if you get that stadium breathing and in the top 5 or 6, you could see them come on quicker than City did with the money.
But I think what you have to think about is, I believe that Newcastle and Sunderland are quite a big rivalry.
Who's the other team you just mentioned?
Newcastle and Sunderland.
So I never heard of that second team.
If there is a Sunderland fan, you are getting hated.
Mate, don't look. I'm a Portsmouth fan. So if there's any Sunderland fans on tonight, I apologise for what I've just done. The rivalry over the last few years has been a bit too much, and I'm still a little bit bitter. I apologise.
But yeah, I think Newcastle is one of difficult, but I think the history of Newcastle with like Alan Shearer there and moving forward, they've always been sort of a Prem side.
They've always been a nearly club, haven't they? Like nearly sort of breaking the top 4.
And I think they've gathered a very large fan base, and I think people love Newcastle. But I think as soon as the Saudis bought them, I think they turned worldwide, because I think they're the richest club in England now. I think a lot of fans, especially worldwide, worldwide are going to be seeing Newcastle going, this is a new side. Like, if City are like this now, and the Saudis or whatever bought them 5 years ago, however long the oil money came in and all that sorts of business, a lot of fans are going to be seeing Newcastle and going, oh, actually, we could keep an eye on them. Some people might look at them and support them based on potentially future projects.
And I think they're quite an attractive club to sign for as well. They're steeped in history. Yep. Yes, you don't want to go up the north because of the weather, but actually, when you look at the fans, the passion, the absolute rubbish they've had to endure for God knows how many years.
Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce. To be fair, he done all right, but you know, I actually touted Eddie Howe. I think Eddie Howe should have got the Arsenal job when it was going. I rate Eddie Howe so highly, you just wouldn't believe. But
I like Eddie Howe, but I wouldn't put him.
Well, have a look at his win percentage with this Newcastle side. That, by the way, have only brought a couple of players and couldn't buy a point before he joined. They were getting hammered every week. The turnaround that he's given this club, people watch the Premier League now and just, Newcastle's got money. Yeah, they're doing all right now. Mate, last year they were certain to go down and couldn't buy a win if they brought the whole raffle ticket book. The job he's done is unbelievable.
But do you think, right, swap the roles with Arteta and Howe, do you think Eddie Howe would have been able to, what's the word? Do you think Eddie Howe would have been able to deal, well, not only that, but deal with the hate and abuse Arteta had? I watched the Arsenal All or Nothing, and Arteta was getting life threats.
I think that's sort of taken up with a role when you take big jobs like this.
But do you think Eddie Howe would have
batter you?
Do you think Eddie Howe would have been as calm, as composed, and as Arteta been, and managed to carry on?
I think both of them are very good. I don't really want to do a comparison because I think they're very, very different managers. I think Arteta probably suits Arsenal more in the sense of his philosophy. I just think Eddie Howe is a fantastic English manager, and I think the fact that people are now not even mentioning, they're mentioning Newcastle as a top 6 side, top 8, really well. I think we need to give Eddie Howe more credit. They couldn't buy a win last year, and now everyone is, sort of taking for granted the position they're in now. Yeah. But your old man got sent off, didn't he, Chalobah?
Yeah.
Straight red?
Yeah.
I think it was this one.
Yeah, well, when we spoke about the Emerson one, slowed down, it looked worse, but you could still see that it wasn't like a slide that went into it. Chalobah was just so slow to the ball. And
it was a lunge as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he went straight into the other guy's ankle. So,
and that's where I think it's different to the other one, Bill. I think we're in agreement in this. That was a lunge. The other one was more of a standing up running. There was no lungy or sort of dangerous movement.
There was no sort of power or any sort
It was almost stepping on the back of his leg, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of, really. But you actually look at both of them in slow-mo. The other one looks worse. But Chalobah's is worse in real time. And that's why I think refs have to be careful they don't start slowing everything down and it looks 10 times worse and making the wrong decisions.
Yeah.
And I find it ironic that all the monitor does when you watch it is just play it in slow. Why just slow? You've got two aspects to look at it. You look at it from an aspect of real life in-time play, and then you look at it slow for the contact.
Yeah.
Now, what refs are doing is they're looking at the slow and going, right, he's studding him, but there's no context. So I think they have to look into that, and I think that's a mistake they're making going to the monitor. I think they should go to the monitor, but I think they need to, look at the circumstance, what angle they're running from, how fast they're running, is there any malicious intent, and I don't think they're doing it correctly.
No. One thing I want to speak about is Mitrovic as well. He had a very good start to the season with Fulham.
Well, I wouldn't even say start. The whole season he's been all right.
So far, he's been doing solid.
Did he get injured? Did he get taken off for injury or just taken off because they wanted a formation change?
I'm not sure. I'm not going to lie. I only watched the highlights of this game. But yeah, I do think that Mitrovic is definitely, how do you put it? It's definitely someone who I'd put up there with Ivan Toney. I would put him up there with not the best strikers in the Prem, but they're that sort of good, that above average, if that's the justice.
Yeah. Just having a look. I don't normally do this, guys, on a live, but I want to see because I'm sure it was an injury, but I could be wrong. Yeah, it is an injury that they took him off for. And your man James Maddison scored 2 tonight. Leicester are 3-0 up against Forest already at half time.
Right. Forest, I'm sorry, but yeah.
Do you know what? I think a lot of people are saying this. I know Budge does as well. What do you expect when you sign a whole new team? I don't agree with what they've done, Bill.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think it's the way I could put it. It's a FIFA career mode thing. You go out, you start a new career mode, and you go and sign 20 new players. So sell everyone.
Bill, you've only signed Chelsea. What? I've signed 4 or 5 players.
We signed Koulibaly, Sterling, Aubameyang, Cucurella.
And look how difficult it's been for you to implement them into your team. The chemistry. Imagine doing that with your whole team.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a great advert for any championship side that's looking to come up, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Jackie's put a comment when we were talking about the Eddie Howe situation. Would not have done the same job as Arteta. Howe suits Newcastle like he did Bournemouth. Steady Eddie. No to Europe. Them will probably win against the top 6 team couple of times.
Feisty comment. I'm gonna have to politely disagree with Jackie. I get what Jackie's saying, and I think I am a big fan of Eddie Howe, so I probably am a little bit biased because I really do rate him. And yeah, I think what Jackie's saying, he probably wouldn't have done the same job as Arteta, but I think he's a good manager. Yeah. And I think personally he could do a top 4 job.
Yeah, I think
he wouldn't have been a bad appointment for United, to be honest.
I would have said at the start of the season, West Ham, with how they performed last season, I think they're doing well, but currently they're not looking so good. And I would actually argue that Newcastle are actually better than West Ham now with their performance.
100%.
So yeah, I could see Newcastle being a guaranteed top 8, but I do believe they could push for a top 6 place as well.
By the way, Jackie, if you could like and subscribe to our page on YouTube every Monday at 8 o'clock. We do also have Tabrice and Michelle that are usually on, but
it's just
yeah,
us
they're
two.
busy this week. Yeah, but you've got the best ones anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You got the best looking ones.
I didn't say looking, I just said best in general, yeah. But anyway, guys, good speaking football with you tonight. Thanks for everyone that's joined. Really interesting and entertaining week of football. Unfortunately, I removed Foden from my dream team and I didn't captain Haaland, so I wasted about 60 points. And my beloved Portsmouth got beat for the first time this season. So it was not a good weekend for me. But, that's football. Sometimes I'm skipping around the house and it's a lovely day. And other days I want to cry. But that's what it does to me.
Yeah, sounds about right with football.
And I think Billy was probably skipping with that 90th minute Gallagher winner.
It had to be Gallagher. It had to be. It was written in the stars.
And that's why I love football as well. It is written in the stars. Good night. God bless everyone. We'll see you next week.
Cheers. Take care.
Cheers. Thank you.